What's up, y'all? So I just kind of wanted to take a minute and share some production notes with you for the new single, and kind of break down what went into it, the thought process behind some of the stuff, the just kind of give you a behind the scenes idea of how this kind of thing happens. So this is the the raw mix file in Pro Tools. And so I'm going to kind of just let you know the whole process. So here we go. Um, First thing that happened with this song was the acoustic guitar part. And I actually first wrote this song, I guess I started writing it when I first got engaged. I was married in August of 2020, and I was engaged for about a year and a half before that. And so I started writing this song then, and laid down the guitar then. And one of the funny things about the guitar was that I really liked the first take, or the first couple takes I think it took to get a part that I liked. But um, one of the funny things about this acoustic track is that it's a lot of hammer on stuff and kind of like tapping guitar almost. And so what you get with that tends to be overtones, some kind of strange overtones that aren't necessarily always in key with the rest of what you're playing. So if I solo this out, so this is just the guitar by itself. And you can't really hear them on this, but you can hear when it goes to that, you can hear that bink. That's over top. It's like an overtone. The reason it's not so present, the reason it's not so present in this take is because I went back and re-recorded it a bunch of times. I switched guitars, I switched mic placement, and changed kind of how I was picking up the guitar. I think I ended up using a ribbon microphone, which tends to be a little warmer than most large diaphragm condensers, and basically recorded it in such a way that it didn't pick up more of those overtones. I liked it at first when it was just the guitar by itself, but then as I started adding other instruments and things, those little overtones were like sharp and flat, and they were really kind of a weird off-key thing. So decided to retract that. The next thing, believe it or not, that happened with the song were the bass parts. And so what I did is I had Lyman, my bassist, come here to my studio and with his upright bass and a bow. And so it's a bunch of layers of upright bass being bowed. And so we tried to get a real thick sound out of that. And so like the raw tracks with the bass, you can hear there's a lot of different tracks going on at the same time, and they're kind of mixed in there level wise. But then I also kind of put them all together and sent them through an auxiliary track, so when they all go together, then there's a little more reverb happening with them. And then obviously when you put the guitars in with that, so pretty cool, right? It's got a real big sound, a lot of reverb. And the next thing that went on there actually was just a few little small additives. Where did I put that? There's a lot of tracks on this. The next thing that went on there was actually this little shaker part. Very simple that you can almost can't hear. So that's just a shaker. And that was the main percussion happening until the drums came. So the next thing to come in, well, actually, I also did add. There were a lot of little layers that came into this song. So there is a synth part, and it's funny. There's a lot going on in this song for how simple it is, but you don't really hear all the parts unless they're solo it out. So here there's like a synth happening there. But then the next thing to really happen that was a bigger part was the drums. And so what we did, I got with my drummer Miles. In his garage we set up his drum kit, and we kind of turned it into a little makeshift studio for a while. Put up a bunch of microphones around it and kind of sound treated the room, and went with I guess we ultimately had 8 microphones on the kit, close mic'd the kick drum and the snare, and had a mic on each of the toms. I think he was using 3 toms ultimately in this mix setup, and then we had 2 overhead microphones coming in from the sides and 1 ambient that was back a ways in the room. Ambient is just picking up the sound of the room with the drums in it. So what I really wanted from this drum part was I wanted it to be very airy, and I wanted it to have a lot of space. And Miles is a really great drummer. He's really great with patterns. He kind of came up with this brush on snare pattern, and if you hear that kind of with itself without any of the effects, here he's kind of rolling on the snare with his brush, getting that white noisy sound. I love that. And then with more of the effects on the drums, it's a little bit of space, kind of has some reverb there. And so I really liked how that worked, but then I also wanted it to fade in. And so what I had him do was start drumming before the song actually starts. And we recorded his drumming as it fades in, so that we had kind of a build. And there's less of it on the like the Spotify, Apple Music version of the streaming song, but on the vinyl and on the CD there will be a little longer intro on this song, so you can kind of hear what's going on with that. It's mostly just Miles at the very beginning. So I'm sending all of the drums through an auxiliary track, and then it switches right there. The auxiliary track I had running it through, had all of these running through at the very beginning, is very closed down. It sounds like it's happening in a tunnel, and it's quieter. And then at that moment that the guitar starts, they switch. The auxiliary tracks switch. That's how you get kind of that fade sound. And then we went back and we separately recorded some swells for the drum cymbal. So when it walks in, when the drums walk in, the swell that's happening is actually recorded separately. And we did those specifically so that we could get that effect of having it wash in. So then I really liked how all that was sitting. And the last ideas to be added to the mix were some electric guitar parts that are thickening layers, and there is actually a lot of them going on. So let's see here. I'm going to just get rid of all those so we can just listen to the guitars by themselves. So there are 3 guitar parts going on in this song that you almost wouldn't, a couple of them you almost wouldn't notice if you weren't really paying close attention to them. But one of them is just this swell that Cameron's doing. It's a great effect on there too, so it just kind of hugs you. So this is very much a thickening layer. It's happening in the background, almost subliminally. And then the other layer that's happening that's more obvious and more prominent for the whole song is this part. Which sounds really sweet by itself too. And then the last part that's happening, which is kind of a thickener for the chorus, is I really kind of affected this one, but or moved it around. What I'm doing is I moved where it's sitting in the mix while it's happening, but it's another kind of thickening ambient part. Yeah, so it's kind of creepy and haunting and very cool. So then, once all that stuff was in place, the last thing to go in was the vocals. And so I went over the vocals a number of times before I was really happy with it. And obviously you can tell if you listen to the track, there are a lot of vocals going on. And let's see here. Yeah.
You woke up terrified, a screaming beast inside. You don't know how to survive the neighbors. You watch your hummingbirds fight without their words. In this house it's hard, we do no favors, and you are so lovely on the inside. You are so lovely on the outside. Like a patchwork quilt, like that barn they built, like they look on with fingers on the crossing, like we bow and pray where that old dog lay.
All right, so there it is. That's kind of how we put it together. The progression it went through over about a year and a half. Lots and lots of tracks, lots and lots of takes. There are far more takes that are not in this song than are on this song. But yeah, thanks for checking it out. Try to break down each one off this new record for you. So see you out there.